All right, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Dr. Fred McGee. I am the leader of the coalition that helped to preserve the historic school that you see behind us. One of the icons of Austin and Texas history, the Montopolis School for Negro Children. We are gathered here today to bring to the attention of our elected officials and to our fellow citizens of Austin an issue which has been in the news a lot of late, but which has been heretofore discussed in a very top-down, not in a very bottom-up fashion. Our coalition, which you see represented here, represents a broad swath of people who are directly being impacted by government-sponsored policies of gentrification in our city that have already displaced thousands of our fellow citizens and stands to do worse if we do not start getting serious about addressing displacement in our city. Those of you who have received our press packet and who have read our press release know that today we are unveiling 5 concrete proposals that we believe will initiate a more serious dialogue about what we can do to start doing something about a crisis in our community. We are fighting for our homes, our history, our culture, our neighborhoods, and our community. This is not a theoretical discussion. It is happening right now. All you got to do is look around you. Okay? So this is not an example of NIMBYism. This is us fighting for our survival.
Yeah.
These 5 concrete proposals include draft resolutions that we would like to, 6 resolutions. We would like to briefly mention now, and I'm going to only be the first speaker. Other people will elaborate, and if those of you from the press have questions, we're happy to answer them. 1, land restrictions in East Austin to limit degradation of the fragile natural and cultural environment. 2, the establishment of a low income housing trust fund. 3, use of city land to create over 2,000 low-income housing units.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah!
And let me say something quickly about that. We are in this community keenly aware of how the phrase affordable housing is in fact used to gentrify our communities. Affordable housing and other terms like it, like urban regeneration, are euphemisms for cultural destruction. Okay? We should be very clear about that. We are in City Council District 3. We are in Montopolis. Travis County Census District 23.12. The average income in our community is a little bit over $27,000 a year. Our poverty rate is nearly 40%. No one who is serious can argue that the enactment of something like Code Next will address the situation that our people here face. Number 4, an East Austin neighborhood conservation program grounded in NCCDs, neighborhood conservation combining districts, and historic landmark districts, historic preservation districts. Number 5, the enactment of a right to return and a right to stay policy in our city, modeled on existing policies in other cities such as Houston and Portland. And number 6, the enactment of a local environmental quality review program. I want to emphasize, while I have the stage as well, something direct and that I want the press to understand. Code Next will make our problems worse.
Yeah!
It will not address these problems. The proposals we released today are enactable by our elected officials now.
Yes.
That's right.
When we need action now. We do not need any more delay tactics. We do not need any more studies. We do not need charity. What we need is respect.
Yeah.
We have studied Code Next ourselves and have come to the conclusion that it will not work for our needs. We would like to be heard. We would like to be participants in the crafting of policies that actually address the problems that we are best handled to understand and do something about, because we live here.
Yeah.
We do not need external consultants from someplace else to tell us what our community's problems are and what their neoliberal solutions are. So, I now turn it over to my friend and colleague, Nelson Linder, who will elaborate further.
Thank you, Dr. McGee, and also thank you for being here today. First of all, recall what this day really is. It's about Dr. Martin Luther King and our fight to make sure that poor people in this country have justice and equity. This morning I walked in a parade from the Capitol to Houston Jefferson. I had a lot of conversations. Let me share this with you. What we're hearing about Code Next being implemented in the city is opposed to what we call equity. You can't have those two things in the same sentence. But how do we tell our community that? Because right now, they don't see this brick wall coming. So I'm going to say, we've got two primary tasks. First of all, to make sure we win the political conversation. The Capitol was surrounded by politicians today. They're not talking about this. So give yourself a lot of credit for having this kind of event in the context of national conversation. But going forward, it's very important that this here begins to enact action items that we can put in force right away to address the inequity, the poverty, the displacement that we're still creating. We're going to have to address this in many different ways. First, at a policy level. Secondly, in our communities. We have to understand that it's not Code Next. If you're black and brown, that means you're next.
Yeah!
Woo!
So we call this you next. That means we got to mobilize, answer the right questions, and understand that we can change this dynamic, but not without understanding. So on this very important historical day, in Austin, Texas, this country, we have to make sure we fight for the right things. Without housing, without an income, without respect and health care, we can't really do anything but too busy. So I want to challenge everybody here today to get to work with your neighbors, your communities, in every zip code that matters. We need housing. We need communities with integrity that are intact. This plan is going to further gentrify and destroy what's left for the black and brown community. So our task is, beyond the definitions, let's have a plain and simple conversation. The bottom line is, we will never have equity in the city till we fix this problem. We need plans of action right now that call for investments and resources to address these kind of concerns. Dr. McGee laid it all out. We've got to read that. But on the other hand, in our casual conversations, we know what we want. We want equity. What did we say a while ago? We want equity. You've got to fight these issues right now and demand action right now. And finally, folks, we have a place called the City Council. We've got to elect folks who think about social justice and civil rights and economic inequality.
Yeah!
They need to be there right now. So part of our task as voters is to make sure these elections coming up, it's a pick qualified folks who understand it takes action items to address these kind of concerns. I am convinced that we can change the dynamics of this conversation. But we first have to explain to our people, make sure they understand that we don't stop this city itself for the next 56 years. We can't allow that. Thank you very much.
Woo!
Good afternoon. I want to honor the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., who's left us a legacy of fighting systemic racism. And that's really what we're doing today, because Code Next is the extension of that systemic racism. When we see the high-density development and high-density residential and commercial that's targeting East Austin, we know what that's about. It's a total displacement of our communities. It's about land speculation. It's about luxury apartments. It's about condos. It's about townhomes. And it's not about families. Let me say that. It's not about families. ¿Okay? Entonces, hoy llamamos a la ciudad que haga algo para la comunidad, que pone fondos para hacer casas de bajo ingresos para toda la comunidad, para la gente trabajadora en nuestra comunidad. Entonces, por eso estamos aquí. Tenemos 6 resoluciones y un proyecto de ordenanzas que la ciudad puede ahorita implementar para ayudar a la comunidad. So we're here today with the People's Plan. We have 6 resolutions or possible ordinance that the city can take on, implementate, and establish right now at this time. And I want to hit on a couple of them. One is to set up the funds to provide low-income housing. That means putting the budget right away, $16 million each year for low-income housing. That also means putting aside every time you put up a bond issue, 20% of that goes to low-income housing. 2, the right to establish and adopt a plan to be able to stay in your community, and if you've been pushed out and displaced, the right to come back. That is the most important, is adoptar una ordenancia que nos dé el derecho de permanecer aquí y también de regresar a nuestra comunidad.
Eso.
And today I've got a group of people here that have been displaced, and some people that are right now going to be displaced, that we're working to try and save them. Thousands of people in East Austin have already been displaced. Thousands. We now have, if you look at this map here, there are 16 mobile home parks that house thousands of families, mostly people of color, that are in jeopardy of being displaced because they don't have the appropriate zoning, and Code Next is not addressing that. It's keeping them as commercial mixed use, which means luxury apartments are to follow, or condos. Instead, the city always talks about keeping this community affordable and working for affordable housing and addressing systemic racism. This is what we call here. If you really want to address the systemic racism, if you really want to protect the most affordable housing in the entire city, then change the zoning to match the use. Mobile home parks, that should be the zoning.
Yeah.
All right.
So right now I want to introduce Blanca Torres, which is one of the families that got displaced from the Thrasher Lane mobile home park, to say about what she went through in this displacement.
Ok, buenas tardes, mi nombre es Blanca Torres. Yo vivía en el parqueadero de la Thrasher Lane. Era un parqueadero chico, pero en mi experiencia fue muy difícil porque tengo a mis hijos en la escuela y me tuve que mover. No es que quería, me tuve que mover. A 45 minutos hago de camino rumbo a la escuela de mis hijos. Es muy difícil porque no tenemos agua potable, no hay carretera. Es difícil, ha sido bien duro. Por eso yo quiero que con organizaciones como las que están ahorita, incluso la ciudad, que haga algo para que las familias que están en peligro de que los van a desalojar, que no los desalojen, porque es muy duro. Yo en lo personal no le deseo a nadie lo que yo estoy pasando. E incluso muchas familias de donde yo vivía también, sus trailers se quebraron con la movida. ¿Por qué? Porque es verdad, tenemos trailers muy viejas, pero poco a poco los vamos reconstruyendo, y el problema es de que no nos dan mucha chance o mucho tiempo para podernos mover o poder buscar un lugar a donde irnos. Entonces, ¿qué nos queda? Solamente irnos a donde se pueda, y no nos importa si no hay agua, tenemos que acarrearla, pero tenemos que hacer algo. ¿Por qué? Por nuestros hijos. Mis hijos siguen viniendo a la escuela aquí a Austin. Yo hago 45 minutos de camino, como les dije, pero tengo que luchar por ellos. Por eso yo estoy aquí también, pues para que todas las personas tomen conciencia, la ciudad que tome conciencia de que no nada más porque somos personas de bajos recursos nos pueden votar. Somos personas, somos humanos igual que todos. Y sí, luchar, seguir luchando, pero mi experiencia es muy duro, mucho, muy duro, y más cuando tienes hijos. Gracias.
Let me just translate shortly. She lived in a very humble settings at Thrasher Mobile Home Park, and it was very hard for her to find a different place. She now lives 45 minutes out of the city, and there's no portable water. and the roads are not good at all for them. So she's having to commute. She managed to keep her children in the Austin schools, but she wouldn't want what happened to her and her family to happen to anyone else, because it's something very terrible to be displaced like that and not to be able to find another place in the city limits, to move. And so that's why we say it's important for make sure that we have, that we protect the mobile home parks, that we give them their appropriate zoning, but not only that the city build mobile home parks, because that is the most affordable housing that exists. It is still housing. And as she said, she speaks from a human rights perspective, from being a human. And that's more important. And I think that the city is really losing that perspective and trying to make everybody look the same. But there's all types of housing, and we have to embrace all types of housing here in the community.
Yeah.
The people unida jamás será vencida. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. And next we have, is it Frank Rodriguez? Frank Ortega, who's going to say a few words. Frank?
My name is Frank Ortega with District 7 LULAC. I'm the district director. We're standing with NAACP and the other people in this event today side by side to just give them support and let them know that it's not just a displacement, but it just plain affects people who live in East Austin. We've seen the changes come about over the years where they're being forced out to move to other areas, to other counties, and yet have to drive into the city to work for the city government, work for the state government. And that's putting a burden on them. Not only that, to have to drive on the toll roads and paying for those toll roads to go back and forth can be very costly to those individuals. So LULAC District 7 stands beside the members and the groups at this event today. So thank you for the invitation, and sorry I couldn't have something more prepared, but I got called this morning, but I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then we have Dr. Tanya Ward from Equilibrio that's going to say a few words.
Thanks, everyone. Yes. Thank you all for being here, and I want to thank everyone who's currently working for justice in the city of Austin right now and all over the world. I would like to thank the legacy of the people who have been fighting for justice in this city, in this country, on this continent for 500 years. We must honor that work of our ancestors and of those who will come after us, ensuring that our values are clear about what justice means and that we take care of each other and take care of this earth here. I'd like to thank the thousands of work hours that went in to every task force on gentrification, on the quality of life of people of color. All of this work and all of these people who are being ignored through the passing of Code Next, the drafting of this policy. Imagine all of the work that has gone in, all of the good faith from these communities saying that we want a seat at the table about what our own communities will look like and how they have been ignored for decades. It's no wonder that Code Next is so unpopular across the city, because now people in West Austin know exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
There could be nothing less democratic than paying $8 million to a California development company to write the laws about what's going to happen in our city.
Yeah.
And people have often asked, well, what's your answer to these problems? It's now here. It is written. It is 6 points. They are simple and they are plain. But we need to be careful. We need to be sure that we're representing the people of this community, of the Eastern Crescent. And there is a coalition called Eastern Crescent Right to Stay, and I'd like to honor all the work and those people have been doing and reaching out to these communities. There's many people who are not here today, and we need to be clear that The stop of gentrification will not just come from good policies, no matter how well they are written. It will come from the unification of our people. We need to ensure that we are representing the people of color of this city, of all of the people of this city, who are united, who are clear and united in their values, and who are looking towards a future where they have the power to decide what their world looks like. Thank you.
And we want to finish up with this, because one of the things that we're going to do is that we're going to give the city council and the mayor the opportunity to place the people's plan, the 6 resolutions, on the council agenda and to get moving, because the six resolutions and possible ordinance of the people's plan, they are the people's plan, okay? They are represented here by the youth, our teenagers, our elders. That's a family. It's about the people who are here that speak English, the people who are here that speak Spanish, and that speak other languages. We're all one community. We're all working together. And so it's going to take the city to move. If it's able to find a soccer field in 1 month, it can find the money. It can find the money to construct. It already has the land that it can start building right away the housing that we need for the poor and the working class community. That's very important. And so we want to thank everybody. We honor MLK in his fight for justice, his right to protest, his right to speak up is our right to do the same. And I look at the families that have been displaced and their children, and it's heartbreaking, because I don't need to happen. I have here my grandsons who are the future too. Where will they stay? Will they be able to afford to stay in Montopolis that was once a poverty area that is now part of the Riverside Corridor Master Plan? I tell you, we have to get rid of these masters. As we're really talking about democracy, the masters have got to go. It's got to be the people's plan. So we will move forward. Afterwards, if you want to talk to somebody individually, we'll all be here. Thank you very much. Stop the displacement! What do we want?
Stop the displacement!
When?
Now!
What do we want?
Stop the displacement!
When do we want it?
Now!
¿Qué queremos?
Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
Ahora!
¿Qué queremos?
Justicia!
¿Cuándo?
Ahora!
Stop the displacement!
Now!